that off. Okay, cool. Hey guys, Daniel James here, and today what we're going to be doing is taking a look at Native Instruments' new brass library, which is called Symphony Series Brass Collection. The way we're going to do this is the same way we always do, is I've written a short track in the background. And what we'll do is listen to that first, and then we'll go into the track and take a look at how I used the library in it, why I used certain patches for certain effects, and all that good stuff. So let's swap over to the main screen now and take a listen to the track. Here we go. So there we go. There's the short track I wrote. As you can hear, I went for the same old big, epic, bombastic. That always seems to be my my go-to strategy for when it comes to brass and string libraries, is because my type of music, and like I've always mentioned in these videos, the type of music I write is the kind of music I would write myself outside of doing a video. So I always test to see if they're big and epic. So let's start off by actually showing you what the library is and what you get with it. So today we're going to be covering the Ensemble library. So the Symphony Series Brass Collection is made up of two libraries. It's made up of the Brass Ensemble, which is basically you get the sections of the brass players instead of individual instruments. So you get a trumpet section, a horn section, a trombone section, and a tuba section, and then you get them all as one. Whereas the solos, you get horn solo, trumpet solos, etc., etc. Each section in this library comes with different articulations. So in each you get effects, expression, legato, staccato, sustain, and then you get a just a basic all-together patch. So and I'll go into in a minute what you can do with those. Same with the horns. I don't think there's anything special in any of them. Nope. So let's take a look at the user interface here. So as you can see, like the biggest, the thing they've paid the most attention to here is the big dynamics wheel, which is an odd choice, but we'll go with it. We'll roll with it. So you get this big dial. It just shows your, how loud your sound's going to be. Then you have attack release, which are, easy to understand if I just put the attack all the way up. I mean, you guys know what these do. And then release, obviously, is how long after I let go does the note keep going. Well, not the note, the actual tail in this case. So if I turn my reverb off. So if you want the natural reverb of the library, you can just turn the release all the way up and then, you know, leave it like that. What I like to do is just have it a little bit down. That way the note dies quite quickly when you let go, and then I have my actual reverb over the top. For this video, most of the time I'll have my reverb on, but I will turn it off if I need to show something. Tightness, basically what it does is it'll go in a little bit on the sample. So go in a bit on the sample. It's an interesting phrase, but so say you've got your sample. What it'll do is it'll take like the start point and move it into the sample. So it's easier to show, I guess. So with it all the way down, you get the natural attack. So when the player's actually blowing the instrument, that always sounds funny. When the player's blowing the instrument, you get a kind of like a build into the note. It's very subtle, but it builds into the note. Whereas the tightness will take the amount of that blow, take a certain amount of blow out of the blow. Does that make sense? We'll go with it. But yeah. So the further up I move this, the more snappy the start will be. And if you go all the way, it gets a bit unrealistic. You may find use for it, but... You know, so you get to like some really weird... But you could probably use... Still too... Yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't use that too much. And then you have this motion control. I had to read the manual to see what this did. I actually did read the manual for a change. So, you know, leave comments on that because I never do. But anyway, the motion, essentially what it does is it adds a certain modulation to... when you hold a note down, it adds a little modulation to the velocity, so the actual loudness. So that. And to the pitch. So if you're playing like two notes together, it'll individually modulate each one so that they won't just be static blows. So the higher this is, and you end up with less of a kind of phasing or like smearing of the notes, which is useful. So we move down here to the articulation, legato, repetition section. Again, this is the same for all of them. So I'll just show it on one for now, and then we'll go through what, you know, all the individual parts of each library sounds like. So we'll start with the horns because that's my favorite. So anyway, articulation. So down here you see this little red dot. This corresponds to your key switches. So you see here C0 will be sustain all. If I click the next one, C sharp 0 will be sustain single tongue. And then D0, sustain flutter tongue. You know, you can do some nice rises with that. Then we have trill semitones. Get some nice creepy things there. We got some decrescendos. It helps if you don't increase the crescendo as it's trying to decrescendo, but yeah. So as you can probably hear, one of the things I do like about this library is the tone of it. I've said in a few videos, when it comes to when it comes to sample libraries, I'm not always looking for the most realistic, on the nose kind of approach. I like tone, something that feels right, you know, something that sounds right. And there are some patches, particularly with the lower sounding instruments. They have like the right kind of growly tone, right? So with the articulation of this, so you see here there's a grey one at the end. If I click this, you'll see there's none. So G0 will do absolutely nothing, you know, like there's no sound. So if you come over to where it says articulation, there's a little triangle. If you click this, it will give you a list of all the articulation slots you've used so far. And up here, you've got a little edit button. So if I click that, it'll take you to the articulation window where you can choose what will go on that key switch, which is an incredible feature. Like it makes sense. Like it's an obvious choice to have this, but some libraries don't. Well, most libraries don't. They have preset key switches. I mean, even my own library doesn't. So I'm not ragging on anyone, but it's like, like having a key switch and being able to assign what goes to it with a user interface is something that seems obvious, but we never do for some reason. And there's more articulations here than I just showed in this list. So we'll go through a couple of these. So we've looked at sustains, we've looked at these, we haven't looked at the mute. So if I click this, I've never been a fan of the mute sound, but it's always like. Then we've looked at this one already. Sustained crescendos. And we've got flutter tongue, and then we have this is step up 3. Which is a very kind of it always reminds me of like Rome, like a big Roman fanfare as they're coming in. So these were the sustains. So the next ones along are the staccatos. So you may have noticed there was no actual staccato going on there. So if I one thing about the staccatos on this in this library, which doesn't irritate me. I mean, it doesn't go that far. But one of the things that always gets to me, and something, an option I think libraries should have if they're going to do staccato, is they should allow. Like, there is a certain degree of dynamic control on velocity. So the softer I hit, there is a little bit of volume control, it feels like. But the actual velocity is controlled still with the mod wheel. So if I want like the line to be loud, I use the mod wheel, which makes like doing things where you go, like where you actually play in your staccato patches. You can't do that. So although the staccatos do sound fantastic, which is great, but there is a dedicated patch to that, so it may let you do that on there. But I always fuck up in these videos, so let's just pretend that didn't happen if it does. So anyway, back to the articulation. So we got staccato stop. If you look down at the bottom here, we have a little round robin. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 8 round robin, and they're cycled. Cool. And then expression. So here's some more articulations we didn't hear. So bends. So if you're doing perhaps some horror score, you can. It sounded more comical than anything. Decrescendos. And then the step up from the sustain, there's a few different variations. So you get step up once, then step up twice, and then step up 3 times. Then we have sforzando, which is like a short, almost like a staccato followed up by a crescendo. This is a slow sforzando. There we go. Blast FFF. Which is a little bit of an odd one because, so at the beginning you saw that I showed with the sustain that when you turn off the release, when you turn up the release, what it does essentially is the release tail that you get, it will shorten that as opposed to the actual note. So like in old school MIDI, I guess, if you had a long release time, the sample would keep playing as if the player is still blowing the note like that. Whereas on the sustain, the release is to a different sample, which is a release sample. So I'm just going to make this dry for a second. So if you listen, when I let go of the note, it's not okay. It's easier if I show the full release. So when I let go, like this is at 100% release now. When I hold the note, when I let go, it won't keep playing the note. It'll do the release tail of that note. So the player's stopped. It's how much reverb of the room we're getting. Whereas on some of the patches, particularly the dynamic ones, the release doesn't correspond to that. It corresponds to like. So the player still plays, which is an odd choice. So the only way really to use these patches is have the release all the way down. And because they're recorded as blasts, so they don't sustain. So that means you would have to, if you wanted to like extend it, I guess, is maybe hold it and then let go before it finishes. And then like, I don't know, maybe have... There's no real way. There's no hope here. There's no hope. So it's a shame because that's quite a powerful... It's a powerful like high-end blast, but it's a little bit unusable there. The fast forcandos I like. So these are good for... so if we play that along with the track, like... you can easily drop those in and have like this really cool dynamic build, They're not tempo synced. We did try that earlier. By the way, if I reference we, I'm doing this video live on live stream. So there is a chat room watching me do this. So if I say we, or I reference something that has happened before the video started, that's what I'm talking about. I don't sit here discussing things with myself too often. I try not to. So here we have slow swells. And you get a little visual representation down here of what that is. And again, these are... these are pre-recorded, so it doesn't matter what my tempo is or what my release time is. This swell will always be the same length. For some people, that could be a good thing. Some are bad. I'll let you decide. There's some muted ones. Crescendos, which we already showed, and then one final swell. So that's cool. So we come down again. So one thing to mention is this middle section here is context sensitive. So depending on what patch, what type of articulation you have. So you see there, it changed to, so if we have like a sustained type note, like a, sustained one, you'll get this legato option. If you have a staccato type one, you'll have the round robin display. I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen as though the camera can see my hand, but and then if you have expression, you get a visual representation of what that sample's doing. So let's take a quick listen to the. I'm just going to make that staccato just for now. So if we go over to the staccatos here, and then what we'll do is try on this legato script. So this is a script. This isn't true legato. And the difference between like scripted legato and true legato is true legato. They record the section of audio that happens between when you're on one note and you change to another. There's like a bend, a kind of movement in the sound where, and they capture that little transitional sound and they actually add it to the sample. Whereas here, we turn that on. And so you can have this button here, solo and duet. So if you solo, basically you're only going to have one horn player, which means that if I play one note and then play another while holding down the other note, you just get the one mono line. Whereas if you switch it over to duet, you get two lines. So you have two lines which are using the legato script, and normally they have to be like a certain amount of keys away. So if I'm playing one up here on like the F, you see if you get too close, you can't play them. So it's good to have like one low and one high. I mean, it's always a bit interesting. So flip is, I believe flip is when it goes from one note, and then just changes to the next note when you hit. So it's like flipping the sample, whereas slur has like a little bend in between. And the response time is, let's change that over to flip. Is kind of almost like slur. So the faster it is, the faster the line will be. Anyway, so what we'll do now is we'll go back to our staccato that we loaded up. And they have this cool feature, which works particularly well on the trumpets, but I'm going to show you on the horn because I love the horn. That sounded odd. So if I turn this on, so what this does essentially is it double tongues, or it repeats the note for you. All you have to do is hold down the key, and it's tempo sync. So let's say I wanted a line to be like ba-da-da-da-da. I can change this to sixteenths, and then, you know, have it 4 times. So that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or a run will just keep going. You know, so I wanted to go. You know, if they wanted to play that intensely. So you can make some cool beats. So here we'll put this will put an accent on the first note. So bada, bada. Whereas this one will be bada, bada. If you change it to last, bada, da da. And again, you can go like 4 times. Da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if you're on triplets, a little bit of chaos. Ba da da da. Ba da da da. Or. So that's a cool little feature to have. So all we've looked at right now is the horn. So that is the horn. If I come over to the actual library browser here, the horn is basically like just the horn section by itself. So what it does is it loads everything into your RAM, and you're set to go. So if I, like, for now, just load up the horn sustain, what it'll do is it'll load up the sustain ones. I'll just scroll down to the bottom where that's going to be. The sustain ones, which is considerably lighter on the RAM usage. So if you're only going to use sustains, you know, you might as well load just the sustain patch, which I've done in a few places, but let me just go to the track it's on. And again, you get the same features down here, and you have the sustain section of articulations loaded in. And you see here, there's now no extra like staccato window or expression like there is up here. So we'll come back down. You see, it's just the sustain articulations. So it's a good way of, particularly if you're using a big template and you want to have the sustains separate from like the legato, for example, you can do that. So the expression, again, is the same kind of, we'll just replace the sustain. So now it's just the expressions, which I showed you up the top, but we'll just look again. So this is just the sustainable ones. Sorry, the expression ones, not sustain. And then, again, the same with staccato. So all the short articulations, and the effects, I believe, is different. So we'll pull those up quick. Let's have a quick look at this. Yeah, so this is a separate section. So these are effects using the brass section. So the bend down is in the expression, so we can go over that one. So staccato cluster. Right, let's find out where that is on the keyboard. All right, it's right down Don't know where I'm actually playing. There it is. And these sound muted to me. Nice long note there. Then we have a sweep up. And if you want them, there's some warm-up sounds. If you want to hear people rustling around in their chairs. Warm-up sounds. You get to hear what brass players talk about on their lunch break. And a good way to use this section is to compare. Calm yourself, calm yourself, calm yourself. I mean, these warm-up patches are a good way to compare which brass section really talks about the hard-hitting topics when they're warming up, because you get to hear them talking to each other. You know, sometimes they talk about, you know, news. Sometimes they talk about ladies. I won't tell you which section do that. And they kind of, you know, you get to hear the interactions if that's something that appeals to you. If you want to hear brass players breathing, it's very, very quiet. Holy fuck, no one breathes like that. Oh, I'm scared now. I'm scared to push the keys. The hell was that? Who the hell breathes like that? I am scared. Okay, you got speed control down here, which controls... Okay, this patch seems to be a little bit broken, so we're not going to play with that one anymore. And then we have some valve clearing sounds, which again, don't seem to be doing anything. So we're going to stop playing with that patch for now. My God. They could be used as horror. Who knows? Then we have the legato. So legato is, like I mentioned earlier, where you have a recorded transition between notes. Which, for whatever reason, isn't working on this track. So I'm just going to switch over. There's probably some phantom MIDI which has gone into that MIDI track. So we're going to go up because I have this loaded already. Everything seems really quiet now, but that could just be me. Yeah, this patch is loaded in super quiet, so I'm just going to reload it here by skipping to the next one and back. It wouldn't be a video without a few mess ups. So I may, like when I was talking about the horn section altogether, I may have lied a little bit. Like I said, it does happen sometimes. So it looks like here you can turn legato on and it's not script-based legato. So, although it does feel like there's more slur in this than there was in the actual brass patch. One thing I noticed as well was that the actual sound, if I remember right, was a lot quieter. Oh, wait, I've left that brass on staccato, so I'm just going to come up and turn that back. So this line here is the horns. So we move this down. It feels a little bit softer, even though like the, you know, it's all the way up there. But we'll put this down. I don't know if you can tell the difference there, but if you listen to the... So that's it on its own legato patch, and this is it on the ensemble patch. It sounds bigger, grander for some reason. So the sustains, for whatever reason, sound a bit more powerful on the horns than the legato does. But anyway, I'll come back down to the legato just so we can see what we're doing. So that was on track 5, wasn't it? You know, so we can... I'm actually going to turn off my reverb just to show you this, what it sounds like dry. And for my taste, there's a lot of kind of... It's hard to get a decent release. Oh, God. Okay, something's messed up there. I don't know what I did. So it doesn't like it when I'm changing the release live. Holy balls. Okay. Mother of pearl. Okay, don't adjust things. Don't adjust things. Just leave it. Okay. Ouch. Sorry for everyone at home. That wasn't meant to happen. So I'm going to stop changing the release times live because it doesn't seem to like that very much. So we're not going to do that again. Jesus. Anyway, so we're going to move on to the next instrument. So next, what we have, trombones. Please don't be a load of... Okay, good. So the trombones, similar system here. So we come over to the trombones. You have the exact same setup with the articulations. You have your main patch, and then you have the main patch split out into individual ones depending on how you like to compose. So if you compose with, like a big template and you'd like to have the staccatos on a different track to your sustains or your legato, you can do it that way. I tend to, I load as I go when I compose. So I always tend to load up the multi-patch one and then key switch if I want to. For this track, I just rolled with it, you know. One thing that the trombones is good at is doing big open chords like this. And as you can see with my modulation data here, which isn't that impressive, you know, you can get a very noble, sticky notes, you get a very noble kind of wide sound with the big trombones like that. So go away, articulation list. So what we'll do is we'll take a listen. One thing I wanted to make notice of, but because of the crazy ghost in the machine whenever I touch the release dial, one little criticism I have is these dials here are so thin. There was like a fart noise from my mouth then. They're so thin that when you sometimes go to touch them like this and you go to drag, you end up actually grabbing the patch as opposed to the actual dial, and you end up moving around, which is infuriating at times. You look at the amount of space they have to play with here, like this space here and then this space over here doing nothing. I think it could have been better spent making these controls much bigger, so that I didn't have to, because you can probably tell I'm on a high resolution monitor, so that is very small for me. So, if I want to get it spot on, I have to get pretty damn close. Okay, so let's take a listen to some of the patches. So like I mentioned, trombones are good for doing big, wide type chords. It's a very noble sound. Again, the articulations are going to be the same. So, relatively the same. So I'm not going to... what I'll do is I'll put it on the empty patch here, and we'll go through them like this. So we have sustains. We have decrescendos, sustained trills, sustain mute, bend up, which is actually different, so Again, everything feels a bit quieter, but I'm too scared to touch the dials, so I'm gonna, be a little bit careful. Oh, one thing to note, you may notice here, I have slight panning on the actual patch. This isn't how it's set up when you get the library. So it feels like everything's recorded it may be recorded in position, stage position, but it feels like they're all mostly down the center. So for a bit of separation, I've panned, for whatever reason, my trombones left and my French horn right, and then tuba down. No, tuba to the right, and then French horn down the middle. Anyway, sustained crescendo. Which is a lovely sound. And then we got the... Again, worth mentioning, with the sustains, you have the legato section. With the staccatos, you have the round robin. So yeah, there's plenty different here. So the trombones have like these extra tongued notes here, which the horns didn't. So this is double tongue. So this is like a technique where they basically... You basically get a da-da, and the triple tongue, you get 3. Ba-ba-ba. So... I wonder what happens if you put a repetition on that. So we'll have like... So you get like an extra note, but yeah. Staccato bend down. Bow. So that's like your kind of... like Cuban music. And then we have staccato muted. Then we have expressions, so decrescendos. Again, that's the release note that keeps it playing for the whole thing, but I'm not going to touch that for now. So you see I can just touch these once. We have a swell, which is cool. Again, bend ups, trills. And then blast. So you can, like I mentioned, like the main thing I use trombones for is to do like these big kind of open. One thing I did notice is there was no real like marcato kind of vibe, unless of course it's hidden away, which I'm gonna check, but I'm too scared to. Right, trombones. Here we go. I'll just double check that there's nothing hidden in the individual patches. I don't believe there is. Where did that load to? Trombones, staccato. Just double check there isn't. No marcato. Yeah. Oh, there is. Oh no, there isn't. So yeah, the individual patches. Yeah, the individual staccato patches you see here. This is the only difference you get from the main patch. Is you can make it so that the staccatos, and I assume the same for the sustains. I'm just going to double check that. You can make it so that the dynamics never go past either a P, which is very soft, MF, which is medium, and F, which is loud. Let's double check that. Yeah, so it only seems to be on the staccato, so that's kind of irrelevant to a point. So just move up here. Right, so trombones, which are now hidden down here for whatever reason. So that's all the sounds in the trombones. Let's take a listen to the tuba. So the tuba, I never use in like chords or anything. I just use as a big bass note. And one thing I want to mention about this tuba is I absolutely love the sound of it. It's deep and it's growly. And like I mentioned earlier, the tone of this library is one of the things I love, particularly on the low instruments. The low instruments have like a width and a depth to them, which a lot kind of miss. Well, the other libraries don't miss it. They just end up being a bit muffled. Whereas these are really, it has the right amount of growl. Although they don't get, unless you're up high, they don't get particularly sharp. So if you look at the dynamics here, this is it at soft. You may have to turn up a bit. I'll turn it up. And then like at 100%, it's like. And then like you layer that in with like the trombones. So if I was to take that out, I'm going to mute this while it's playing. Hopefully nothing explodes like it did a second ago. I'm going to play it, and I'll mute the trombone and listen to. I'll mute the tuba and listen to how much it adds to the overall big sound. So you like. That's the thing about the tuba I love, is it absolutely, like the trombones get the feel. They get the feel of, those big open chords. They give you the width, but the tuba gives you the balls. And if the balls are saggy and like blurry, not literal balls, like if the balls of the tuba are like, all muffled and there's no real definition to it, then it kind of doesn't feel right. Whereas when it's strong, when you got big, strong balls holding your brass section together, I forget where I was going with this, something about balls. Oh yeah. If you've got, big solid balls holding it together, it fills out and you get this big, low, wide sound, which I love about brass. And you put the horn in with it. You see what I mean? It just gives you the balls of it. So let's take a quick look at the tuba again. With the tuba, same articulation type patches. Oh, that's one thing we forgot to do. I'm going to do that quickly before we move on. So I'm going to look at the trombone effects. We didn't do that. So the only different thing, like I mentioned earlier, so trombone, like the main patches, have inside them a list of sustain articulations, staccato articulations, expression articulations, and the sustains have a legato script, so which you can turn on in the middle down here. The only thing they don't have in the articulation list is the effects, and I'm scared, so I'm going to put this actually on track 12, because track 12 so far hasn't messed up. Track 11 has been scary for us so far with those sounds. So so breaths, when it cover your ears just in case. Where is it? Here we go. They're subtle, but I'll just trust that they worked. Okay, so we've got plenty of effects for these. Right, so now we're gonna change this to slide fall. We got some slide fall slide. Someone needs to put the the meme with the little hamster. We've got some mute clusters, more of them. More mute clusters. Then we have actual clusters. There is a certain amount. Stop. There is a certain amount of. Okay, they're still playing for whatever reason. I'm not touching the release time again though. There's a certain amount of dynamics to them, but it sounds like it's more just turning them up as opposed to there being a separate recording, so there's no hard cluster. But you can turn them up with the mod wheel. And then atmosphere, so we've got tuning noises, which are... Let's listen to them warming up. I see, I told you, they all talk about something different. Here we go, breaths. Cleaning your valves. You know, you never know when that might come in handy. Anyway, back to the tubas. So let's listen to... Go back up to tuba. Let's listen to what articulations we get with that. So track 3, tubas. So like I mentioned, these go pretty deep. They come down all the way to a low A here. And all the way up to a high E. So there's your basic sustains. We'll come over to these empty patch and take a quick listen to what we've got. So we've got decrescendos, sustain crescendos, bend ups, we got bend downs. Cool for like little accents there. Trills. And then we got over to the staccatos, only flat staccatos with the tubas. Again, the tuba goes up pretty damn high. Nice and meaty, you know, you might have to turn it up to get a bit more welly on it. And then expressions, we have crescendos. Then we have decrescendos. Then we have fast decrescendos. Sforzandos. Again, these are all the same, so I'm not going to go through them all. Oh, might as well. I'm there now. These long, low blasts. Bend downs, bend ups, and half step trills. Again, same kind of thing as we've been looking at. So what we're going to do now is just change it and have a listen to the effects of the tuba. And then we'll move on to the trumpets. Really replace. Yes. Okay, so now we're going to listen to the tuba effects, hopefully. Again, nobody touch track 11 because, goddamn. Okay, so we'll come over to the breath. Right, so octave chords. And we've got staccato clusters. And we've got some actual long clusters. Cluster swells. Sweep ups. And we got the atmospheric kind of warm ups again. What are the tubas talking about? Oh, they're quiet. Oh wait, the tubas don't really have anyone to talk to. Nobody talks to tuba players. Anyway, so let's move over to the trumpets. So here we have some trumpets. Oh wait, I've left the tubas on clusters. Hang on. There we go. Sticky notes. There we go, turn them off. There we go. So we've got a nice... And one of the things I like instantly about this trumpet is it's very clean and very powerful, very strong. It's a very it's a crystal clear type sound. So let's take a quick listen to that. Which is, track 9? No, track 4. Let's go over to it. Track 4. So I'm actually using the legato patch here because I only wanted the... which makes sense. So I'm going to load up the trumpet patch. Again, the trumpet's the exact same as the other one, so I'm just going to load up the main patch over the tubas here. And let's take a quick listen to how that sounds. So come down here, and we should be set up on the sustain. So yeah, well, let's quickly go through the articulations of these. So these have a couple more articulations than the others. Again, because trumpets are normally quite a lead instrument. So double tonguing with trumpets is quite a common. That's a triplet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas this feels like a triplet. Anyway, some flutters. We got semitone trills, whole tone trills. The difference between a semitone trill is going between like a D and a D sharp, and then a whole tone trill is going from a D to an E. Trill horse. That's some real animation style trumpet playing right there. You know, like a spy thriller or something. Which is cool. Crescendos, we know what they sound like. We got some harmonic mutes. And then cup mutes, where they put the little cup in the end. Which is nice. Staccato, so we got the straight up staccato. Triple tonguing, which, like I explained with the trombone, which is where they play 3 notes very quickly. Staccato mutes again. Again with the cup. And then with the harmon mute. I think I said harmonics earlier. Forgive me. Decrescendo. Sforzando. Crescendo. I thought I'd go through everything, just so that you know. Blast. Anyway, and then we have like these stepped ones at the end, which are cool little. It's kind of a cool sound. So we could play like a. It's nice. So these are cool for that John Williamsy type sound. And one thing that's, like I mentioned earlier, so with the staccatos, this repetition button down at the bottom works particularly well on trumpets. Because the attack and the release is just spot on. Spot on. You can really get your teeth into it. Anyway, I'm going to jump back to the horns 1 for a second. Because I wanted to show you. So if you come down the bottom here, it shows you in the bottom left what patch you're on. And for this whole time, we've been. Where's my? There we go. So we've still got the legato on, so we'll turn that off. so this whole time we've just been on performance, but so there's this extra little mixer window here, and this allows you to change mic positions. So we've talked about this a few times in a few different libraries. So mic positions allow you to create your own kind of mix. So if like this, normally they'll just have the stereo mix set up for you. So if I turn these off, I hope we don't get any big loud bursts of air. So we just put the stereo, most of them will come just as the stereo mix. But let's say, for example, you wanted it a bit more in your face, a bit cleaner. You could turn those off and just go to the... Let me turn off my reverb. You know, it's very dry if you put reverb on that, though. You know, you can get a nice sound, but then you can mix in... I've turned off my reverb again. Mix in maybe the far mics. And then maybe like some mid. So you can see you get, you know, you can adjust your you know, you can adjust your mic positions that way. You can save your settings here. It'll save to the, you know, into a folder, and then you can load them up there, which I'm not going to do now. You've got your EQ controls down here. So if you want a bit more high end, you know, you can put it on there. You can add reverb with the built-in convolution reverb, which is decent, but I tend to use an external reverb instead. But let's just turn it on for now. I always tend to find the convolutions a bit muffled, but yeah. So we have a compressor and a filter. Oh, I need to sneeze, excuse me. Held it in. So a compressor, like if you know how a compressor works, so we can lower the threshold. You know, make the attack slow, fast release. So you're getting like that initial attack, or you could do it the other way around where you have a fast attack, slow release, which basically just squashes all the high end and brings up the low. Filter, I'm not sure how you turn the filter on. Oh, I didn't. I turned it off, that's why. Oh no, you have to turn the filter on individually. If for whatever reason you want to do some sound design, you've got a filter there, which is cool. Okay, so that's basically, you know, all that. And the last thing I'm going to show you here with this ensemble patch is I'm going to show you this ensemble. So all we've been looking at so far is the ensembles in their individual sections. So the horn ensemble, which is all the horn players together, trumpet section, all the trumpet players together. This patch is all of them all together. So it's a good way for blocking out what you're going to do. So you can get really big, wide sounds. I tend to like when I'm composing, I tend to It can get a little bit kind of MIDI sounding if you play like as bad as I did just then. But there is a fix for this. There's a fix for this. So if you come down the bottom and you guys remember my video on the Symphony Lite, you have the option here to adjust where each individual section plays on the keyboard. So if you look down the bottom here, so the red will only play from A1, A-1, I guess that would be. Well, no, it'd be A0 down here, all the way up to C2, and then the trombones, which are yellow, play from C2 all the way up to G5, and then the horns all the way down here on G1, and they end at G5, and then, you know, trumpets. So if I, you know, didn't want the trumpets until like the very high end, I could, watch out for loud bursts of sound. I adjusted something on the UI. I don't think this is a general issue with the library. I think it's just, for whatever reason today, it's not liking me doing it. Yeah, so I'm going to stop playing. But essentially, you can do the same thing here. And what you can actually change here is you can turn up the individual volume of each individual section. So if you want like no trumpets at all, you can just turn them off. You know, and go with it that way. So I'm just going to make another track here because I don't want to blow everybody's ears off. So we're going to make a brass, and we'll go to track 13. Unlucky for some. Just going to load in another instance of this, but I'm going to put it on track 13. I don't know why the MIDI's doing that today. It's probably because the chat room's watching me. We can blame all of our woes on them. Right, here we go. We're going to load in. There we go. So it's gone on track. So we're going to put it on track 13. And let's take a listen to what articulations we get here. I believe we don't get... We just get the standard kind of ones. Yeah, so we get like the usual kinds of basic patches. So we get sustains, which I don't think... Is it not going to work anymore? I think for whatever reason our MIDI's having a bit of a trouble. Oh, I put it on B, didn't I? Here we go. And then we have staccato. Again, we can put repetition. We can come on the... Maybe not that fast, but... Oh, I fucked up. Decrescendos. Sforcendos, which are quite good when you play like an entire range altogether. Semi-crescendos. And then we got the blasts. And again, the blasts are such a missed opportunity because they sound cool blasting, but you know, because they have this they die off before you're ready for it. You know, I wonder if we can try turning down the ensemble. I want to show you this before, but I'm scared of it blowing our ears off, so I'm just gonna turn down. Yeah, cool. Uh-oh. Ears. I heard it go, so I'm not going to adjust it. For whatever reason, Contact keeps reloading them back in. But yeah, so that's the basic gist of the Native Instruments Symphony Series brass collection. There is a solo version of this, which is the solo instruments. I'm not going to cover those today because, you know, this video would go on for literal hours. So what I decided to do was show you the ensembles, and the solo library works in the same way. It has the same kinds of features, same effects, and all the controls work in a similar fashion. Personally, I absolutely love this library for softer kinds of music. Like I say, this track I used today, I ended up writing it. Let me just check, make sure it actually works. So it can get pretty... You know, it can get pretty big, pretty large. But I tend to find it's better when you're doing like more organic, like the kind of music I write is very hybrid, epic, orchestral kind of things, lots of sound design, big drums, things like this. Some of the instruments have a little bit of trouble cutting through, like a Cinebrass Pro 12 horns or something, or a Hollywood brass, which, both have very aggressive sounding brass. But this is exceptionally good at doing like the low, wide, noble and strong sound, which is great for film score. It's great for actual, putting into other pieces of music. And if ever I'd have a track now, and I've had this for a while now, been working it into my usual workflow, and whenever I have a section of a piece of music, even if it's a big epic orchestral piece that has a kind of mid section or a slow section, where the epic needs to come down for a section, for a moment rather. Things like, the Cinebrass Pro or, the Hollywood brass they don't feel as comfortable being down in the lower dynamics. They kind of lose that wider edge. Whereas things like the Symphonic Series brass here has like I mentioned, it has that low, wide, it has balls to it. It has like a real full sound to it. So when I break down to a section that's not as big and epic, I will go for this library, particularly for the lower instruments. So for the trombones and the tubas and even the horns, if it hovers around the middle of the range, because it's a very strong and noble sound, which I love. So I don't think it's I don't think there is any like be all end all brass libraries. Like they all have really good points and they all have like a weakness to them. So if your current brass library setup has, if you're missing like a low, strong, noble sound, and that's something you use regularly, I definitely recommend this library. If you solely write epic trailer music, which I know a lot of the people who watch this do, you may be better served elsewhere. It can do those things. Like I mentioned, I did put that, I did intentionally write it with that in mind. So if I, play just a section of the loud bit here. It can get up there, but it's not its strength. It's not a negative. It's hard to explain. It's just good at doing the epic. You know what I mean? It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. If you can only afford one and you go for this, it will serve you well. But if you're specializing in big and epic, there are other libraries which focus on that, which do it a little bit better. But this does cover the low end really well. Like if I was to give this one aspect that it excels at, it's that low, full sound. And if that's something you're after, then this is, definitely for you. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video today. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the library. If you have any questions, please do ask. I'll try and answer them. And like I mentioned during the video, I'm doing this on a live stream, so I'll put the link below. In the description below where I stream this live when I do it. Right now it's actually 2:30 in the morning as I'm doing it, so it could be at any time zone. So if you're American, British, Japanese, wherever you are in the world, it's possible I'm streaming, so it's worth checking out. As well as after this video, I will continue streaming. So if you enjoy these videos and you want more of them, it's a good place to subscribe and come watch. But if you're on YouTube, please do subscribe. Like I mentioned earlier, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you all in the next video. And edit and slice.